I have never seen this. It's total confusion. Even for me personally, I will only decide when I enter the voting booth.
Don't you find that they're boring us to death? Madame Le Pen is doing a little too much, even if there are people who don't earn a lot of money, and that needs to be remedied. But honestly, I find this unimaginable, how French people can vote for Le Pen.
It's a stalemate from both sides. It will end badly, there will be social turmoil, a lot of protests, no one will be satisfied, so I'm a little pessimistic.
Now, in the past, it's been a debate which has given France some of its most historic political quotes. Simon Harding looks at the history of the showdown.
A verbal offensive, an appeal to emotion, an anaphora, a debate which can in a few seconds change the course of a campaign. In 1974, there was the first French presidential debate in history.
The set was dark, the atmosphere cold. Both candidates were tense and not even talking to each other.
That night, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing swept François Mitterrand's campaign aside with a few killer words.
I find it always shocking and injuring to manipulate the monopoly of someone's heart. You don't have that monopoly, Mr. Mitterrand. You don't have it.
7 years later, the duel was repeated, but this time, François Mitterrand had prepared himself by practicing fake debates with his advisors, and that time, it was him who came out on top. The left ascended to power, but they were haunted by a split and a coalition in the government which foreshadowed a bitter and tense debate.
Allow me to say that tonight I'm not the Prime Minister. And you're not the President of France.
You are absolutely right, Mr. Prime Minister.
A line which helped Mitterrand win the day, the press unanimously agreeing that Chirac had been cast aside. In 2002, everyone expected Jospin to face Chirac, but a huge shock rocked France as far-right candidate Jean-Marie Le Pen moved to the second round. Chirac refused to debate with the National Front leader.
I have refused them in the past, and I will not accept to debate with them tomorrow.
10 years later, Nicolas Sarkozy faced François Hollande and his famous as president.
As President of the Republic, I would not call my Prime Minister a collaborator. As President, I would enable the justice system to work independently. As President, I would always ensure that my behavior is exemplary.
On Wednesday night, the seventh debate of the second round will take place, a brand new duel, which will certainly make its own history.
Now, French musicians, actors, artists and cultural icons have assembled at a Parisian concert hall to rally against voting far-right. Various musical performances intermixed with speeches calling on the crowd to use their vote as a barrier to Marine Le Pen, even if they're not totally convinced by her centrist opponent. The event put together after a written appeal published last month in the left-wing French daily newspaper Libération to vote against Le Pen. It was signed by over 100 artists and cultural figures.
The cities where the National Front are mayors or something like that have had many problems participating in shows. In those towns, they've closed various concert halls to ban artists, and especially an African artist.
We must vote even for someone who we wouldn't otherwise have chosen. After that, we'll continue to work. If Emmanuel Macron wins, and I hope he does, I'll be in the streets to tell him that he was not elected by people that all support his programme.
It is up to us artists to take action, to defend the idea of the Europe that we want, and maybe we should take action more and more frequently, and not just wait for this type of situation.